Welcome to this video on the timetabling of English and Maths within vocational provision in further education. And the objective of this video is to go through and see how we can create courses like this, let's say where our English and Maths are integrated into our vocational provision, rather than something, let's say, like this, where our English and Maths is not integrated and is on the wrong days. Really. So that's our first objective. Whilst at the same time, we have our staff members in English and Maths fully utilised. So that's what we're going to do today. And some things are going to have very consistent sort of objectives across the institution, and some things are going to be trade-offs. So we're going to go through the consistencies and the trade-offs that we have. So first thing that all colleges are going to want to achieve, let's say I've got two courses here, course 1 and course 25, and I've attached them to these as English and Maths ones. So if I load in the time for course number 1, as it loads in, we can see that our English courses, which are in the purple for both functional skills and GCSE, are in the same time slot. They've all nicely put themselves in together. And the maths ones are in the same time slot as well for both functional skills and GCSE. It's quite a nice timetable for me to be able to time. I'm going to put a big practical session in the middle, somewhere along here. I'm going to put a practical session here, a practical session there as well. And I'm going to timetable some theory and some academic tutorials before the other sessions as well. And that's going to be a nice solid block. That's going to look a bit like this one above here. And that's going to be my program. So how do I do that? Rather than something like this here, which we want to try and avoid. So here we have chosen, we just look at our functional skills and our English, our functional skills and GCSEs in the same slot rather than there. But you see that they're on different days. And so if I timetabled Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday here, then I'd have my English, my maths here, my maths lesson in there on its own on the Thursday, and the students wouldn't turn up to it. So how do I achieve this approach here rather than this one? And how do I definitely avoid the situation whereby the functional skills and the GCSE aren't in the same time slot, and I have more holes and more disruption to the vocational provision, and it even further away there. So that's what we're going to do in this video, is how do we achieve that, and how do we timetable around it? And the first thing that we do is we start off with considering how do we construct the various slots and also the various blocks, the combination of those slots to produce a coherent options available for attaching to our vocational provision. So in here, in this instance, I've gone for 4 different slots. So 4 1.5 hour slots. You can put them however you want to be. Some might be actually like next to each other. Running from 10:30 to 12. Some that might run from 1, whatever. But those I've gone here for 4 different slots in this particular approach. And then within each available slot, I can have some maths and I can have some English courses. So in these blocks here, I've also then put them in of how I'm going to do them. I've left a gap on Monday because I'm going to have my team meeting there. And I've left Friday afternoon off as well because in this example, I'm going to do some evening maths and English courses, and so my staff members are going to take their time back on the Friday afternoon. That's where they're going to do that. So I've sort of decided what I'm going to do in terms of I'm going to have mainly my English and maths on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They're going to be my more intensive points. I'm going to thin it out a little bit on Monday with my team meeting, and I'm going to thin it out on Friday with my time being taken back. So that's how I'm going to do it. That's the first thing that I'm going to do. The second thing that I'm going to do is in terms of my blocks here, these sort of slots that we have, those are combinations. So they might be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 GCSEs and functional skills within that. So I'm setting them up as English and maths there, and I'm connecting them all together, the 4 slots. So I don't allow my vocational areas to pick 2 twos, to pick the English slots and the math slots, because they might end up picking, 2 sets of managers might end up picking 2 different blocks of English and put them in that same point, and I might have an imbalance in the number of learners that I would have. I'm going to split it up like this first of all, and my selection that the vocational areas can take is they can select a block which will contain 4 different slots. And in terms of what I'm going to timetable, I'm going to timetable my English. Let's say if we do block 6 on its own, I'll be tabling my English there and my maths there for that block. And the vocational curriculum manager will select that as the holes that they're going to have for that course. and they're going to be in those 3 days essentially. So that's the first thing that I'm going to do is I've set up and I've made combinations of 4 slots. So 2 sessions for GCSE for 1.5 hours. Functional skills, make some choice. You can make some choices for that. What you can't do for functional skills is typically functional skills will have fewer hours or the same hours as GCSEs, but you couldn't have, let's say, one block of or one slot of 2 hours for functional skills. I'm not going to go 2 GCSE hours for 1.5 hours and one functional skills for 2 hours. And the reason why is because they won't then align, and I'll create more holes and disruption into the vocational provision. In fact, I'll have huge gaps in the vocational provision, so I can't do that. I could have run the functional skills for a shorter period of time if I wanted to. I could do 2 1-hour slots if I wanted to just do it for 2 hours, and so I would, let's say I was having my GCSE there and my functional skills here. I go, 1 hour there and 1 hour there for the functional skills, one and a half for the GCSE. Could do that, but I can't make the one with the lower hours, have longer slot lengths than the one with the highest hours. So that's the first thing that I decided on my lengths of the number of hours I'm going to take, and I decided on the length of the courses. Second thing I've done then is I've connected them together in fours, and now we're going to look at the placement. Why have I placed it like this? So if I have my students in for 3 days and I've got 4 slots, one day has to have 2 slots in there, and the other day has to have one. The other 2 days have to have 1 slot in there. So I've placed the one with 2 days at the start and the end of the course, end of the day. And initially that seems counterintuitive. Why have I done that? And this is because this is an example here where I would have a lot of vocational provision. So I'm going to put my practical session in the middle here, and I could put a practice. If I'm doing block 6, let's say I'm going to have a practical session there, and I'm going to have a practical session there. I'm going to go with some theory and some academic tutorials in the front. So the reason why I did that was that I could have a practical session on every day, and I'd make it interesting for every day. There'd be an incentive to turn up here. And if the learner decided that they weren't going to come in until later for the first practical session, which they could do, I could probably pick that up in the registers here, and I come back after lunch and I highlight that to the student that we know that you didn't turn up, and make sure that you go over there. So that's the first thing that I could do. And I'm running my slot and run my vocational provision, let's say up to the ends of my students. My lecturers could move the students and take them to the English and maths classes. So that would be the first thing. The alternative that I could do is I could have gone, let's say, English or maths, a theory session, English and maths, a theory session. I could have done it like that. And I think that the thing that one has to sort of consider there is it is a choice. If one goes down that route on the theory sessions, then you might not be as interested in the day as the practical one, so you might have a reduction in the attendance. But it's very much your choice to consider. If I was in an institution and it was very, very heavily theory rather than practical, I might run for 4 days with one English to maths on each day, and I might have more directed study time within the learner's timetable as well. I might keep them in for 4 days. If I was in a wholly sixth form, I might go 5 days and have them in classes on a morning, let's say, and in the library in the afternoon. Entirely up to you. But first of all, have a bit of an idea about what is the objective and the positions that you're going to place them in. If I did, let's say, 3 sessions, either two functional skills and a GCSE, or 2 GCSEs and a functional skill in each one of these ones, 7 blocks would give me probably about 720 learners, 420 learners, a class size of 20. And obviously, I'd add more courses in as I had more requirement for learners, but this also has kept it spread out so that I don't have to have huge amounts of staff members. I could cover this with 3 full-time staff members. So doing 24 hours, actually 21 hours, then I can put some adults in as well. So that's the first thing that I've done, is I've decided on my block lengths. Having done that, I'm now going to timetable up here. So I'm going to come along and let's just timetable as well. So I'm going to go and do, let's say, an adult maths course in here. I'm going to just do a time. So I'm going to timetable a course there. I'm going to look for a staff member first. So let's just try and find a maths staff member. Okay, here's one. And what else we got here? Yeah, that's another maths one there. I can look on the timetables here, and I could sort of see where the gaps are. So I've got that on the Friday. I could go. It could be an evening class here, or if I really wanted it, sort of sitting there, I could go for that as well as a time. Or alternatively, I could go and just put staff member number 3 in there. So we use codes in here in this line. Hit the button to load the time up, and the grades are going to tell me where the staff member's already been used up. And if I say I'm going to timetable, so I'm going to timetable on Monday at 3 o'clock. I'm going to put it in at 3. In there, put them in at 3, and I'm going to run that for. I'm going to try and run that for that amount of hours. We can see it comes back and it says that there's a clash. So it's going to tell me where my lectures have already been used. The greens that's where they actually are on this register. The greys are where they are on other registers. All right, so that's not going to work for me. So I'm going to have to change that. And I'm going to run that then from 5 o'clock, let's say, on Monday and I want this to be 3 hours. And so I'm going to run that till 8 o'clock and reload it. And there we go. We can see that it's now in. And if I go back to that staff member there, we can see the staff member's up to 24 hours. So they're fully utilized. And I used up the extra 3 hours. And that's achieved it. You see, I haven't put a room in. So I'm going to come back to here, put a room in here. And let's just go for that room there. Let's say load it in. And we can use some buttons to navigate ourselves around as well. And so what did that do in terms of our room? Yep, that's fine. That's used as well. So the same for rooms as well as for staff members. The greys will sort of say where they are, but I could actually go for room number 1, which I'm going to put in for there. And then that's quite nicely set up. So that will give us our utilization of our staff members. Gives us a good idea about clashes as well of where they have to. And then the next thing then, to get to this point where they're going to attach to particular courses, I'm going to use this particular tool here in my non-English and maths courses, and I'm going to attach my course here. So first of all, I'm going to put my name of my course in, and let's say I just need 6 learners on this one here, and they're going to come in with, I put my expected grades on entry here. I'm going to go, that it's going to be just 2 there, and there's going to be 2 zeros, and there's going to be 3 of them there, and 1 of them there. That I decided to attach them to those particular courses here, but I can move them around. And what happened is I put those numbers in. We can see that they pushed these figures up. Overall, so the total here on this right-hand side will add up the various grades in that block there, the one that's first called up there. So here, if I mix the blocks, which isn't a great plan to do, then it wouldn't quite give us the perfect answer. But here, and I can go along and I can say, right, well, in block number 1, I'm going to do 2 GCSE maths courses here and a functional skills course. I'm going to do 1 GCSE English and 2 functional skills maths. So it's 2 functional skills English, maybe even 3 in there. So that's sort of telling me the amount. I want to keep this nicely balanced. If I don't, then I have to have more courses in one day than the other. So I keep that as balanced as I possibly can, and consider my grades as well that I'm likely to have. We can see here if I've mixed the blocks, and that's why that course, which was course number 25, didn't work here because I was mixing the blocks up. I could theoretically mix the blocks if I wanted to and say, look, this is just a 4-day course, so we're perfectly happy to do that. That's okay. If you're getting lots of requests to mix the blocks, it's probably telling you that your blocks weren't right. And that's it, really. In the next one, we'll start to actually timetable up the vocational provision. Thanks for listening. Good luck.